everybody. Welcome to another episode of I'd Podcast That, brought to you by Sitch Radio here in Irvine, California. My name is Brian Colburn, for those of you who don't know me. And for those of you who don't know about me, the first podcast I ever helped produce was way back in 2008. I was a web developer. That show ran for a little bit, came down. A few years later, my buddy said, hey, help me with this project. And it turned into a leading premier podcast in the emergency management space. And that kind of snowballed into me helping more and more people with their shows. And then Sitch Radio was born. So we are a 1,200 square foot facility here. We can do live. We can do recorded and edited. If you'd like more information, hit up sitchradio.com. Enough about that selfless plug, and moving on to today's content. Joey wanted me to talk about how to find guests, but I'm going to take it a little farther than just that. So anybody who starts a podcast has an idea of what they're doing, what direction they're going, what types of things they're going to talk about. And one of the things I encourage people to do is put together a list, this dream list. If you could get these people on the show, you would be head over heels, just totally stoked. Now, how to find them can be a little difficult. Let's say it's Bill, and Bill has a leading podcast on another platform. Well, it's going to be easier to find out how to contact Bill because he has an online platform. So whether it be through his podcast, maybe as a website, social channels, don't be shy about hitting people up and, direct messaging via a social platform to try and establish a relationship. But put together that dream list and start reaching out to them. I mean, and these are people, for example, EM Weekly sends out an email to the President of the United States, who's never been on the show. However, you never know. One day he might go, yeah, I'm feeling a little randy. Let's be a guest on EM Weekly. Who knows? Can happen. I can guarantee you this, it'll never happen if you don't ask. So put those asks out there. I use LinkedIn a lot. The majority of the shows I do are business related or that nature. We also have a presence on Facebook. There's a young lady who's a local influencer, if you will. And I think not only would she be a great guest, but a great podcast host. And our team here is reaching out to her via social media to try to establish a dialogue and see what her goals and objectives are, and see if there's something we can't do to help her get a podcast up, and or maybe she can guest on a show or two for us, and herself, helping her, maybe introduce her to a different audience, which is, cool. But one thing you can't do is be salesy. Establish a relationship. If you can provide value to them, provide value to them. I engage with people online for quite a while before I ask. I don't want to be just the guy who takes from anybody. So establishing that, and some easy tips and tricks to do that is get active on their social feeds, comment, like, share. Those things go a long way, and odds are they might get to know your name at Billy on Twitter, say, and then when at Billy asks a question, they're going to be more likely to respond and or engage with you because they've recognized your name from weeks, months of interaction of you being at Billy on their platform and on their tweets. That aside, don't be shy about sending an email when and if you can find an email address. And think about that email. Now, we have canned templates here that we offer our new hosts on, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is why we think we can provide value to you by being a guest on our show. So it's not completely salesy. It's, a cold email going out to them. But if it's templated and you can just edit and personalize to them. It doesn't take a lot of time, energy, or work to copy, paste, personalize, send. All your emails engaging with a guest should be in some sort of template format. Hey, I would like you to be a guest. They reply, no. I understand schedules are busy. Would you mind if I follow up with you, say in 6 months? Maybe you'll get a yes, maybe you'll get ignored, but at least you're asking. The next email, I'm sorry you don't find value and you've said no to being on our podcast. This is the type of stuff we talk about. If you'd ever reconsider in the future, please let us know. Save my contact information. But you're being nice, polite, and courteous in that email, even though it was a no. And that might resonate with them. Hey, this guy's professional. Let me take another look at this. You might get an email from them going, you know what? I've got a window. Can we do something? Which is cool. The next email they're going to get is, hey, thanks for agreeing to be a guest on the show. I would like to schedule a pre-call. Click here for my calendar, or what's a good day and time. I'd like you in the same place, same room, same technology that you're going to use when you come on the show. That way we can handle any tech issues, number one. Number two, acoustics. Number three, I can get to know you. You can get to know me. We can formulate how that episode might transpire. If you're using, say, StreamYard or Riverside, let them know, hey, we use a third-party tool. You're going to have to authorize your camera, allow your camera and microphone to be used by this application. So don't let that freak you out. Here's a link to the full little instructions or tutorials. If you can, try to log on beforehand. And if you have issues, let me know. Things like that go a long way. You're setting them up for success, which inevitably is setting yourself up for success. Now that they've agreed to be on the show, they got your welcome email, you've done that test call. The next email is, hey, I appreciate you coming on this discovery call or test call or pre-call. I think everything went well. These are the types of questions I might answer. What's a good day time to schedule that? If you didn't do that while you had them on the call, which I would encourage you to do. Once that's hammered out, now the reminders come. Hey, just a reminder, 2 weeks, we're going to be recording a podcast episode. Hey, in 1 week, we're going to be recording that episode. Hey, tomorrow, 10 a.m., we're going to be recording that episode. This way, a couple of things. This way, they're not going to forget. If something comes up, you're giving them a reminder to go, oh my gosh, I've got a conflict. Let me push. So that's not occurring at the last minute. Number two, it sets a tone for professionalism, in my opinion, that you care enough about them and their time that you're sending these reminders out, that you do run a professional show, that you can communicate with them. And that sets an impression in their mind that if he's communicating so well with me, he must be communicating really well with his audience and in everything he does, which, is going to raise your clout in that person's mind a little bit, that you're running a professional show. Once the recording, say it's recording, once that recording has been captured, send them out a note a day or two later. Hey, I want to thank you for your time again. You're in the editing queue. I plan to air your show this date, this time. I would love for you to share it with your social media following. Would it be helpful if I sent you graphics and a little bit of text and links to where they can find the show? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, whether they say yes and or no. If it's a no, you can say, I know you didn't want this, but here it is. But give it to them. If you make it easy for a guest to share your show, their episode with their audience, they're more likely to do so. So create that Twitter graphic, name it episode name Twitter, episode name Facebook, episode name LinkedIn. That way they know what graphic to use on what platform, so it's sized appropriately. Nothing's getting cropped off or stretched and pixelated. You can give them a little text that they can freely modify if they choose to, but then you can also supply that link of where they can find that episode. And the cool thing is here, you can kind of drive it to the platform you would prefer your show being listened on. So odds are it's Apple or iTunes, or maybe use a third-party app that's on both platforms like Podcast Addict or just escaped me. There's so many different platforms out there right now. And again, this sets that tone for professionalism. And it lets them know, wow, this guy really cares. He's making it so easy for me to share, save image, copy, paste, post. They're getting a piece of social media content out of it to their audience. You're getting his audience or her audience eyes on their episode of your show, and you can grow your subscribership that way as well. A lot of email platforms allow you to have templated emails in them. You know, there's so many out there, again, Google, Microsoft, so many CRMs. And if for whatever reason yours does not, open up a Word doc, copy, paste email 1, email 2, email 3, OneNote, Dropbox Paper. There's so many free tools out there that you can easily make templates for your communications with guests. Just like you should be creating templates of some sort to communicate with your audience when you post a new show. You know, your social links at the bottom of your show notes should always be the same. If you're sitting there building a Facebook, copy, paste, Instagram, copy, paste, template, make that a template. I was going to say templatize. Templatize is not a word, is it, Joey? Not a word. I'm corrected. Thank you, Joey. Make a template and copy and paste the entire block and put it in there. These little things are going to save you seconds every episode over the course of time, minutes, and time is valuable. That's the one thing we cannot buy. We cannot buy more time. So hopefully this episode, and we're going to recap really quick, finding guests. If there is somebody, we're chasing a guest that we want on a show on Instagram right now because they're really active on Instagram. We reach out on Facebook. We reach out on LinkedIn. We send emails. We have used the contact us form on websites to begin a dialogue because we want somebody in that organization to be a guest on the show. There's so many different ways you can find people online, offline, that it's lazy if you're not pursuing any and all avenues to try to get them to be a guest. But make sure you lead with what they're going to benefit from being a guest on the show, because their episode is about them. And if you lead with that benefit, that's that sales proposition for them to come on your show. We would like to introduce you to our 1,000 listeners. We like what you're doing with your company. We would like to introduce that idea and concept as you've explained it to our audience. Include your social following. You know, we average 1,000 downloads per episode within 30 days. We have 800 Facebook followers. We have 2,000 Instagram followers. We're active on Twitter with, 800 followers, whatever it may be. But that wide of an audience might appeal them and push them over the top. People start a podcast, episode 1, they're asking Pat Flynn or John Lee Dumas to come be a guest. You're probably A, not going to get a response. B, if you do, it's going to be, good luck. We're really busy right now. Reach out to me in a year. Because they know you don't have an audience. It's not going to benefit them as much or at all, as much as it's going to benefit you from having a big name on your show. So you've got to think of it through their eyes. And if your ask is absolutely ridiculous, maybe you set that person aside, but keep that list. And I'll follow up with this individual at a later date and time. So finding a guest, tips and tricks, communicating with that guest, make templated emails if you can, or create that Word doc with email 1, email 2, email 3. This way you have consistent communication amongst guests. I actually heard a guest once go, this guy asked me to be on his show and it was so professional, which is a word I've used. The way he communicated with me, he made it so smooth and simple and easy. He answered my questions before I could ask them. It was just easy to say yes. It was easy to share. And that's the experience we want to create for any and all guests that we ask to come on our show. With all that having been said, that's your tip and trick for the week. Now, next Friday is Christmas Eve. The Friday after that is New Year's Eve. We'll see you next year.